Hello, hey, Jim Hamilton here, and first let's start it off with a chant. Let's go Royals! All right. There's this little video here is going to be about service agreements and the HVAC business. I just want to make sure that everybody understands what I think is probably the most misunderstood piece of the HVAC business, and that is the service agreements and what's involved with it, and where is the gross profit really driven in an HVAC business. And the number one answer that I hear all the time is that the most gross profit comes from the equipment replacement. Okay? And in that particular day that replacement happens, that is absolutely true. But I'm going to hopefully enlighten everybody just a little bit here to the uncovering what I'm finding out as a business coach, that most people, when I say most, 99.999% of the people don't get this. Even the contractors that have been in the HVAC world their whole life. I mean, I'm a plumber, so who am I to tell a guy that's been in the HVAC business anything? However, I was in the HVAC business too, but I didn't come into it with any baggage or any historical falseness. And that's what I think's happened here. The manufacturers have hoodwinked the contractors, and it happened in the early 80s. So I want to go through this piece with everybody just to make sure you get it. So I'm just taking a little bit at a time. There's four streams of revenue. There's the replacement system. Now, if a guy knew how to spell replace, I would say replace system. We replace the system, we'd repair the system. You got service agreements, and you clean the system. Okay, there's revenue coming from cleaning the system. Now, the service agreements that I'm talking about have 5 distinctions to them. This service agreement does not come with any services that are included in a service agreement. It comes with 5 bullet points here. A customer will get priority service. They're going to get no diagnostic charges. You're going to get no after hours fees. You're going to get 2 system checks a year. We're going to come out and check your system twice a year, and you're going to get a 10% discount on all repairs. Okay, so those are the 5 things that I talk about, that I offer in a service agreement, what I consider a service agreement. Now, if you have a service agreement that includes cleaning, all I ask is that you charge the right price. Most of these service agreements are not charging the right price. Okay? Now, my service agreement is typically a $99 service agreement. So I get $49.50 every time I go out to a customer's home. All right? Now, let's talk about this, and I'll come back to that in a second. Let's just talk about the 4 revenue streams. So in a 15-year period, you're going to replace a system once. I'm just going to use a 15-year. If yours is 10, we'll use 10 for yours. But in this example, we're going to use 15 years. So I'm going to replace a system once. And that system, let's say an average, I'm going to use a low end, I'm going to say $10,000 is an average system. Okay? That's $10,000 in revenue. That's 100% of the total sales revenue so far. At a 50% gross margin gives them $5,000 in gross profit dollars, right? So right now in these 4 revenue streams, this is making up 100% because we haven't done anything in the other ones yet. Now, let's jump down here to the system repairs, repair of the system. How often is a repair going to happen in 15 years? Let's say once every 5 years, I'm going to have a component failure. So I'm going to give you 3 of them there, and I'm going to say the average repair, let's just say $1,000. Okay? So now you got $3,000 in revenue. That's representing 23% of the total sales now. 77% is up here on the system replacement. You got a 55% gross margin in repairs. That's going to give you, over the course of 15 years, $1,650, or 25% of your gross profit revenue is now coming from system repairs. 75% of your gross profit revenue is coming from the system replacement. Okay, that's the easy part. Now the service agreements. So I got 15 years of service agreements. So I'm going to say, okay, 15 years of service agreements. They're annual service agreements. And again, I'm 2 visits a year. And I'm going to charge $99 for that service agreement. Okay. Now 10% of the revenue now, $1,485 for the lifetime of the system. Okay. $1,485, or 10% of the revenue, is coming from service agreements. 21% is coming from the system repair. 69% now is coming from the system replacement. I'm going to say I've got 100% gross profit here on a service agreement because I really don't have a cost against it. Okay. So I've got basically getting $1,485, or 18% of the revenue is coming in from this service agreement. Okay. Now I could have I'm going to have a cost against that. However, I'm going to show you how I don't have a cost against that. So I got 61% system replacement as gross profit, coming from gross profit. 20% of the gross profit come from repairs, and 18% of the gross profit now is going to come from the service agreements. Okay, because I've got this money whether I go out and check that system or not, and I'm not saying you do that. Okay. But yes, you're going to do that, but we're going out there as well. Now, what the service agreement gives us, I must stop and go back over here. I've got 4 streams of revenue. I've got number 2 predictability of service agreements. That number 1 predictability is I've got 2 calls. Okay, I got 2 visits a year. So I got 2 calls for a tech to run this year. This is one customer's service agreement. Now, if I've got one service technician and I want him to run 4 calls a day, I'm going to want 500 service agreements. That 500 service agreements is going to turn into 1,000 calls, 2 calls per agreement. And at 250 days in the year times 4 calls, that's 1,000 calls. So I basically filled up his whole year with service agreements. Okay? So there's no more peaks and valleys when you've got the right number of service agreements for each technician in your business. And I'm using 500 service agreements per tech because I know that in reality, I'm only going to be able to get a hold of about 70% of those 1,000 visit calls for whatever reason. Just can't get a hold of the customer. Okay? So what makes up the other 30% to give my tech 1,000 calls a year, which would be 300 calls? That's where the peak season comes in. Okay? And that's where these repairs start coming in. Okay? I'm going to get, the peak season is going to fill the gap that I'm not able to contact my customers with my service agreements. So that's going to give me 4 calls a year, and that's going to level me out. And when you have it leveled out, you have predictability in headcount. You can have year round now because you got technicians that are going to run 4 calls a day. There's a lot of predictability in these service agreements. Okay? Let's see if I left something else out with that service agreement. Okay, so I got 4 revenue streams. We talked about that. The predictability of call count, the consistent annual staffing. Okay, now there's predictability. Oh, and I talked about price the agreement right. So if you're going to include the cleanings, you've got to charge more than $99. And let's say you're going to clean the system twice a year. And I mean clean the system twice a year. You better have $400, $500 in there each time. to clean that system. So that service agreement has to be selling for $600. So if your service agreements aren't priced right, if your service agreements are priced at $99 or $129 or $159 like I hear out there, you don't have 2 cleanings built into your service agreement. You're just kidding yourself. That $99 gets you to the door. It's basically that dispatch fee that gets you to the door. Okay? Every time you go out there on a system check. So you get $49.50 on my $99 agreement example. All right. Now, when we go out on this service agreement, there is another predictability. Number 4 here. There's a second predictability here. That second predictability is dirt. Dirt is present 100% of the time. I'm going out there twice a year and there is dirt present 100% of the time when I go out there. There's dirt present on 100% of the time you're out there on a repair call. And how many times are your technicians not charging to clean the system with a repair call? That's crazy, right? But there is dirt present. And I have this meeting with technicians, helping them understand that this dirt is present. And I give the technicians, I have a technician meeting and I tell the technicians, I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to every call today and I want you to take the bottom cover off the furnace where the blower compartment is. And I want you to take this baby wipe. I give them a packet of baby wipes that fits right in their pocket. And I want you to take a baby wipe out and I want you to wipe the inside panel of the lower compartment of that furnace or air handler where the blower compartment is. Just wipe the side panel. That's all I'm asking them to do. And I want them to staple that to their invoice and then bring it back. Just like I want them to bring the invoice back. And don't say anything to the customer. Do this for 30 days. Make sure that your guys are stapling this to their invoice. Capture all of these. Put them in a plastic bag. And at the end of 30 days, you can dump that whole plastic bag full of baby wipes out on a table and ask your technicians, what does this represent? And the techs will say, those are the baby wipes you asked us to bring back. Okay. And what do they all have in common? They're all dirty. Oh, they're all dirty. Okay. So what does that mean? What opportunity does that present us? Well, we could clean. Okay. Now I got buy-in because they've seen it. Here's the deal. There's 2 types of cleanings. And this is the part that I think gets messed up the most. There's a neglected system, like my face. That's a neglected face. It takes about 20 minutes to shave that beard off. Okay? That would be considered a neglected system. It takes a lot longer to clean a neglected system. Dirt's caked in there, you gotta pull everything out, and it's just mucked up. Kind of like my beard. And then there's the routine cleaning, the guy that's clean shaven. It probably takes him about 20 seconds to shave his face. Same thing is very true when you're routinely cleaning a system twice a year. You're getting that fine dirt off, that fine dust off. You're vacuuming it out. You don't have to pull the whole thing. They got attachments for vacuums now. You can stick down in and vacuum everything out. You want to just make sure you're getting all that done twice a year. And you'll never have this beard of dirt. Okay? We want to stop that. And that's what we're doing. We're charging for is that routine cleaning. Now, ACA backs this up in their stats. And I have that also on my Jim Hamilton Business Coach closed group for Nexstar only members. There's a template in there. You can download it. It's from ACA. And ACA shows you that cleaning a system twice a year, cleaning that dirt, that residue dirt out of a system is important, and here's why. The number one corrosion in a system is water. water will corrode a system. And water lives in dirt. The dirt absorbs the water and holds the moisture in the system, and therefore there's still moisture, the humidity from the air. You've still got moisture in your system now. Okay? So if you've ever gone out where it's rained real hard and then you went out a couple of days later and the top layer of your dirt or your soil is dry and you kick that top layer off and it's wet underneath there, that's exactly what's happening to the moisture in the dirt that sits in the system. So, but when you take all that dirt off, dust off, don't give a place for moisture to collect and to live, you're getting rid of the corrosion from a system. So wipe all that dirt off of there. Get that off of it. And that's why cleaning it twice a year is important to do. Another example that I give the technicians, these old-time technicians that just never heard of this before, and they get total pushback on it. And they say, you don't need to clean it twice a year. I go, well, okay, let me ask you a question. How often do you dust your home? And most of the techs say, I don't dust my home. My wife does it. I said, oh, that's fine, okay. How often does your wife dust your home? Well, maybe every 2 weeks or maybe once a month. I said, okay. So is it reasonable to think that you should dust your home the inside of your home, to clean the inside dust out of your home every 26 weeks? If you're doing it every 2 weeks on the surface, do you think the inside of your house, your furnace, your A coil, we should not take the dust off of that every 26 weeks? It's a perception, and nobody's bought into this, and I was taught this, okay? And because I was a plumber, I wasn't smart enough to question it, thank God, okay? Because it works, and there's dirt there. So anyways, I'm going to encourage you guys to think about this, to implement this, not think about it, because right now you're getting your asses kicked with these service agreements because you're not charging the right price for the cleanings, okay? So getting down here to the cleaning the systems, I'm going to clean the systems, and here's how I did it. I was generally getting $75 a component for cleaning. Now my components are broken down to 3 parts, and so are yours. It's the outside condenser, it's the inside A coil, and it's the inside air handler or furnace. Okay, so I was getting $75. This was back in the 90s. I was getting $75. So that's when I was able to do all 3 of those components, I was getting $2.25. And in the wintertime, when I could only do the A coil and the furnace, I was getting $150. Okay. Today, guys are doing it for $100. I'm hearing 125. Some of them are ramping up to 140. So whatever let's say it's $100. Okay, because that's probably more practical. It's 27 years later. So $100 per component. So that's $500 a year, because you're going to do 2 components one time, the furnace and the air handler or the A coil, and then you'll do 3 components. You'll do the furnace, the A coil, and the condenser. So you get $300 one trip, you get $200 another trip. That's an average of $250 a trip. Okay? So I'm going to do that twice a year over 15 years. That gives me 30 trips out there at $250. That gives me 34% of the revenues coming from the cleanings, or $7,500. 45% of the revenues coming from the replacements. 14% of the revenues come from repairs. 7% of the revenues come from service agreements. 34% of the revenue is coming from service, or from the cleaning aspect of it. And the cleaning is where the money is made. Okay? Because the cleaning is predictable, now you're able to send your technicians out there. Look, they don't have to look for anything. I don't want you to send your technicians out there looking for something. Okay? They're going out there doing a system check, whether it's a demand call. They're going to check the entire system to find out where the broken component is on the demand call. And when they're out there doing a service agreement call, they're going to go out and do a system check. So I'm asking now my technicians to perform the same service, to act the same way on every call, whether it's a demand call or whether it's a service agreement call. They're going to do a thorough evaluation of the system, and they're going to check the system out. Okay? And what are they going to find if it's a demand call? They'll find out where the component is bad, and they'll offer a fix for it. And if they're smart, they'll also find that there's dirt there and offer the cleaning. Now, on a service agreement call, where there is nothing most likely wrong, and you're not sending your technicians out in the field looking for something to repair, because you'll be on the news if that's happening. But now my technicians go out there and they know that dirt is present. They just have to show the dirt to the customer. Wipe it down and show them the dirty rag. Okay? When you're out on a demand call and you're showing high amps on a motor, you're showing the customer the amp draw. When you're showing when you find out the contactors are pitted, you're showing the customer the pitted contactor. You're showing a flame rolling out, you're showing the customer the flame rolling out. When you find out it's dirty, you show them the dirt. Dirt's predictable. Dirt is going to be there. It's your definition of dirt. There's a neglected system and there's a routine cleaning. Okay? And if you don't do the routine cleaning, you're going to end up with a neglected system, because that dirt's just going to pile up. And it's our job is to go out there as a service agreement customer and tune that thing up. And that means get all the dirt out of there so it doesn't ever cake up. Okay? We're going to clean this up, but we're going to charge for the cleaning because I don't have the cleaning built into the price. All right? So the cleaning is a la carte. So coming back to that, here's the important part. Yes, the sales flowed out this way. But this is the most important part here, the gross profit. This is the part that you get blinded by. In equipment, in 15 years, you're generating $5,000 in gross profit. You're generating $1,650 in repairs. You're generating $1,485 in service agreement revenue. And you're generating $6,000, which happens to be more than your equipment replacement, through cleaning, because you're doing it consistently for 15 years. And it's predictable income. It's that reoccurring revenue that happens in this business. You cannot sit around for another 15 years after you fix Mrs. Jones, replaces Mrs. Jones' system, because you got to live with it for another 15 years. The lifeblood, Ron Smith had a quote in his book. He said, equipment replacement will make you healthy, but cleaning revenue will make you wealthy. Because his cleaning revenue is the revenue I'm seeing that 99.999% of the contractors are missing. Now, think about this for a second. How much every call you go out on, let's say it's an average of $250, they're running 4 calls a day, there's $1,000 a day. If a technician is just running system checks all day long for a week, he's bringing in $5,000. At 80%, he's bringing in $4,000 a week in gross profit dollars. You hearing that? That's a huge deal. If you're not capturing this cleaning revenue, you're missing 42% of the gross profit that you could have. And think about that. If you just took your current gross profit and divided it by 0.58, that would be your new gross profit. That's a lot of money. That's a game changer, guys. So if you're not doing that, you're totally missing the boat. And to give you an example here, I'm going to take this out. If you don't do the cleanings, you're going to end up with $8,100 in gross profits. If you jump into the cleanings, you're going to pick up $6,000 more in gross profits. This is one customer. Okay? Times that by all your customers. This is $1,000 a day, 250 days a week. If he never does anything and does nothing but cleaning, the guy's bringing in $250,000 or $200,000 in gross profit just from cleanings. And you know he's going to trip his toe. And yes, you can take your best techs and put them on the repairs. Absolutely. You're still going to dispatch your best techs that are the most technical, but now you can bring in green people and get them involved in this business and teach them how to clean this system. You can take your installers when there are no installs and run system checks all day and generate $1,000. Guys, I've gone on a long time with this. It's 26 minutes. I don't know if you can tell that I'm a little bit passionate about it, but it takes it. This is the cash flow of the business that I see 99.9% of you missing. And I don't want you to miss it anymore. All right. If you got any feedbacks, give me a holler. Take care.